Throw away ACCT and sorry for formatting on mobile. I, 25F, just started this new job as a front desk clerk at a hotel. I work the overnight shift. I have a coworker, 30 SM, with me but he never really spoke to me. A few nights ago was first night alone. At around 2 a.m., I notice a person in the parking lot. You can see the lot, the front desk. The lighting in the lot is terrible so you don't really see faces until they get to the lobby door. Just standing there not moving for about 5 to 10 minutes. This was strange and of course it creeped me out. After about 10 minutes of them there, they moved I guess to call the front desk because he moved his hand to his ear. The phone rang. I picked up and on the other end I just heard, 5 buried. None found. In low voice and then they hung up. At this point I was terrified so I ran to the back room, called 911. I explained to the operator about what had been going on and they sent a cops to the hotel. When they arrived, one cop was talking to the person outside and the one was at the front desk talking to me, telling me that the person outside was claiming he also worked here. I was confused but also admitted I hadn't seen the person's face, the silhouette. At this point the other officer and the person from the lot come in and it out to be my coworker and he was upset, saying he would have never pranked me if I was going to call the police and try to get him arrested. I didn't go through with charges but I did tell my manager what happened the next morning. It's been a few now and I guess he told other coworkers what happened and now no one is really to me and giving me a bit of an attitude. I feel like I took it a bit too far with calling the IATA. NTA, what did he expect you to do? Go into a tearful panic so he could laugh at her, and secretly glory in his power at being able to scare a woman that badly. NTA, he should have been fired, immediately. Seriously, he should not have a job after this. Showing up to scare and harass a younger female coworker in the middle of the night? No, NTA, you didn't know it was him, so you haven't done anything maliciously. Unlike that absolute tool, who for some reason has decided it would be a great idea to scare the living daylights out of a young female, stuck working alone. What else were you supposed to do? Laugh it off? Please. You could have been in very real danger, and you acted accordingly. He's the your coworkers are you are not. What makes me so much angrier at this is that there are men out there who use women's fear as a fucking toy to be played with. We live on a planet where men are literally the single greatest threat to our safety and well-being, where saw and murder of women is rampant, and men think it's a cute fucking game to play with that to scare women for their jollies. Fuck this guy all the way to hell. NTA, your coworker was trying to scare you on purpose, and now he's angry that you did what any reasonable person would have done under the circumstances. Yeah, my boyfriend thinks that my coworker was trying to scare me so I would quit my job, and because it backfired, everyone is annoyed with me, haha. NTA, that's not a prank. Had it been me I'd have gone straight to HR with a complaint about inciting terror and a hostile working environment. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. In this day and age he's lucky a hotel guest didn't see him and fire a weapon or something. I just started watching the John Wayne Gacy documentary and he used to invite men over, threaten them with a knife, handcuff them, tell them it was a prank or test their reaction if they managed to get away, and then do it again if he got the chance. Your colleague got what he deserved in the moment, you calling the police, but I hope he gets fired so you don't have to deal with him being around anymore. NTA, if I were you, I'd follow up with HR and make a formal complaint. It's hardly appropriate for a grown man to harass a younger woman, who is alone at night no less, and terrify her for his own weird enjoyment. Pranks are supposed to be funny, yeah? It's also not appropriate that Appa seeing retaliation from her coworkers for doing what any normal person would do in this scenario. Also, file a complaint with HR or someone against him. Put it in writing, put it in an email, start a paper trail. This will only help you later if anything else comes up. His behavior is not okay and he really should be fired for harassment. This advice is good for literally anything in an office. Always cover your ass with a paper trail, no matter how trivial. I once had a boss tell me on the phone not to come in if I needed to use a cane. I told him I needed it in writing, which he never did, but he retaliated in very minor, unrelated, and inconvenient ways. That is a government job too. So it doesn't always work. Be prepared for that. Location flag NTA. But this guy is bad news. He's in his 30s and spends his night off at 2 a.m. showing up to his job to prank his younger female coworker? He should be fired. That's harassment and it's fucking creepy and weird, not to mention unprofessional. This op need to go to HR about this, not their manager. NTA. How fucking terrifying. That's not a prank. That's some fucked up BS. A prank is ordering pizzas or wanting to book a whole floor in the hotel or something silly. Silly being the key word, not homicidal horror like that did. Right? A prank is something that mildly inconveniences you that you can laugh at later. You can't just terrorize someone and laugh it off as just a prank, bro. NTA. You were right to call the police. Do you and this employee have a history of pranking? If not, I would be seriously concerned that this dude wants to wear my skin like an Edgar suit. NTA. That's freaking terrifying. Why wouldn't you call the cops? You would have been the if you'd called after you found out it was a prank, but you called during the prank. Your coworkers suck. NTA. He wasn't pranking you, he was trying to terrify you and getting off on it. Maybe if he was a friend, or at least a close coworker who you already had a jovial relationship with, but, no. Don't be gaslit into thinking you were in the wrong. What he did was fucked up. You did the right thing calling the police, so if this psycho escalates there is already a paper trail. NTA. That's some serial killer BS. You aren't friends, he doesn't know your history, and doing that to a girl working the night shift alone for her first time is intentional. He knew what he was doing and it's gross. It's also extremely abnormal, and makes me think he should be investigated. NTA. As a woman who has worked plenty of night shifts, I would have called the police too. I'm not investigating some creepy asshole in the car park, that's what the police are for. You did the right thing, emo, and your coworker is an arsehole. NTA. You didn't call the police on a coworker. You called the police on someone who was acting suspiciously and making threatening phone calls. The fact that he is your coworker is secondary to that. I'm shocked that he is still employed there. I also don't think your coworkers really understand what he did. Absolutely this comment op. He wasn't out there as a coworker. He knew exactly where to stand and exactly how much, little you could clearly see. He presented himself as threat, he made an explicit and direct threat, and you responded appropriately to the situation. You absolutely did the right thing. Stop feeling guilty and start firing back at people who don't support your completely understandable actions. Ask HR what it would do the hotel's profit margins to get a reputation as a place where creepy men stalk around in the middle of the night. Definitely NTA. You can't scare the hell out of people like that and expect no repercussions. Never let your guard down. You reacted perfectly NTA. A prank ends with all people involved laughing. That was not a prank, that was harassment. You responded wholly appropriately. NTA. I have no clue what this coworker thought your proper response to his asinine actions should have been. NTA. At least your coworkers have saved you time by making it obvious that they are not people anyone sane would want to have as friends. I'd get a new job and let HR know exactly why you left. And publicize what hotel it was so that I can avoid ever staying there. NTA. Let's make a young woman at night afraid and feel uncomfortable. Yeah, real great prank. That is so childish, and as a guy he has no idea the level of fear we are instilled with. We can't really afford to not be cautious or assume things are jokes. That's how women get kidnapped, killed, or assaulted. NTA. You're a woman working the night shift alone. I sure hope you'd call the police if something that sketchy was happening. Also, like, pranks from friends are one thing, but you'd barely even spoken to the guy. NTA. Seriously, WTF. This guy should have been fired for this. It is absolutely not okay. Also, pissing about instead of working. Whatever you do, don't hesitate to call the cops if another situation like this arises. It could be a prank, but it might not be. Plus, if it's another prank, the cops will set them straight. NTA. A prank is 30 seconds of gotcha, not 15 minutes of terrifying you. Knowing you were alone and relatively vulnerable. What A.W. Kerr. She was more than relatively vulnerable, unfortunately. There was a serial killer in the 80s who targeted female motel clerks working the night shift. He was just unmasked earlier this month. I-65 killer. NTA. As a young woman myself, just reading this story scared the shit out of me. I'd absolutely call the police and hide in the back and be praying the whole time that I'd be okay. He got what he deserved. Creep. NTA. I'm a horror enthusiast as TBH. After telling them to sod off, on the phone, I would have done the exact same thing. You can't take the risk that it's a prank when you're working on your own, especially at night. NTA. And usually I judge people for adding extra and scarier tones to incidents, but this prank is pretty out there for someone who barely knows you. Was it just a prank? I'd consider getting a new job because if no one else you're working with has called it out as super weird and obviously going to get the police called, then that is an environment you don't want to work in. Absolutely agree that op should look for another job, especially if this sicko gets to keep working there. I would go so far as to call this a hazing ritual. OP's coworkers are treating her differently after she was terrified. So what? Did they have the same thing done to them on their first day? And now they are upset that they might lose their precious office class clown? The whole lot of these people are problematic. NTA. Great idea for an horror flick. Awful idea for a prank. I'd question as sanity TBH. Sorry, the others can't see that. Honestly, he should be glad his prank worked. Because it did. He tried to scare and you were scared, and a reasonable response of someone who fears for their life is to call the police. How did he expect you would react? That you just hide beneath a blanket like a child? NTA. Pranks frequently have consequences for the prankster, and if he can't accept that, maybe he shouldn't do pranks. NTA. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. NTA. You're there to do a job, not to make friends, goof off. You did the right thing and I'm glad you were safe. NTA. I would have done the same. Safety first. IDK. Why someone would think that's a good prank to do.